Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says,
"Hey dude, you too must be from Marin."
Marin County's A-OK, from amidst and all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. The Dennis, Dylan, and Duffy.
This is the RUN TMC Podcast. That is the RUN the Marin County Podcast, a podcast about basketball in Marin County. I'm Duffy Ballard, and this morning I'm leaving a voice memo for my friend and co-host, Dave Levine. Dave, as you know, and our listeners may know, we leave each other voice memos pretty regularly with ideas, thoughts on the podcast. We dish each other some dimes on drills, give each other some updates on games and practices. This morning, I am sending you a voice memo with an idea. So, Dave, we had a fun conversation with friend of the podcast, radio host on 95.7 The Game, and season 1, episode 14 guest, Dan Dibley, at my house with Kenya, the podcast dog, hanging out, scratching her collar a little bit. And we ran the gamut of a lot of topics, including how to cheat in the game of tennis, what are the best burrito places in the Bay Area, and a lot of talk about the Warriors, where they are, where they might be going. And that's a lot of what Dibs does on a daily basis to make his living. And we also talked about coaching tree. And Dave, question for you. Do you think you and I are epiphytes on coaching trees? I think that might be a good way to describe where we are, coaching-wise, especially me. You might be a slightly bigger epiphyte than me, or moderately sized epiphyte. I might be a very small one, just getting started, maybe easily snuffed out. So Dave, here's my proposal. Could you maybe shoot me back a voice memo with your thoughts on releasing this episode, this conversation with Dan Dibley, which occurred yesterday, November 15th, and getting it out because it is a bit topical and we don't want the Warriors to totally crap the bed before we get the podcast episode out. So shoot me that voice memo, give me your thoughts, maybe thank our sponsors, and we'll get the episode out either later today or tomorrow. And then, Dave, we'll talk about our upcoming release this coming week and give us a little preview of that too, if you don't mind. We have a new coach here in Marin County at San Marin, and he gave us a lot of great stuff to think about when we met with him a month or so ago. All right, Dave, hit it.
Duff, it's your buddy Dave, co-host of the RUN TMC Podcast. Duff, you're an innovator. You're a disruptor. You're constantly pushing the envelope, coming up with new ideas. I love this idea to use our dorky voice memos as the introduction for this episode. Yes, listeners, Duffy and I exchange voice memos like this multiple times daily. This is how the business of this podcast is conducted. It is dorky as hell. It is about as analog as digital gets. It's old man analog in the digital age, leaving each other voice memos. I love this idea of getting this episode out in a timely manner because we do talk about some topical things, namely the Warriors and the NBA, as you mentioned. Dibs is just a special guy, and not only is he extremely talented and extraordinarily funny and thoughtful and insightful and caustic and bitter and honest in a biting way, in a great lovingly biting way, but he's also a huge fan of this podcast. He loves the nostalgia. He loves talking about Marin sports of yore because that's what, formed him as a kid. And we all remember those core memories. And for Dibs, core memories were Drake basketball in the early 80s and MCal football and all the stuff that we talk about. So Dibs is a huge fan of the pod, and we love having him on, and it was a really fun discussion. So you hit on all the topics. There are more. So just listen. You'll love it. It's a fun discussion. Beyond that, we want to thank our sponsors. Can't do this without you guys. We love you. Baptiste Rum, fantastic rum, made the right way, environmentally friendly, natural ingredients. Our friend John Lawson has built a really beautiful company. Please support them. Ask for them at restaurants around Marin, and retail establishments. The Hub, Jerry and Rebecca, we love The Hub. Shout out to listener Alan Rossi, who is one of our loyal listeners, has been with us since day one. He went to The Hub this week, he said, for lunch because of our podcast, and appreciate you, Alan. And we love you, Jerry and Rebecca. Thank you for your support. The Hub has been with us really since the beginning. And speaking of the beginning, our first sponsor, Jeff Skaggs and the Nike camps at San Domenico. Thank you to our sponsors. And Duff, as you mentioned, a little teaser for our upcoming episode beyond this great conversation with Dibbs. The next episode is fantastic. It's a conversation with new San Marin boys basketball head coach Chris Lavdiotis, Coach Lav, another Coach Lav. He's really fun to talk to, and it's a great discussion about a variety of topics as well. We obviously go deep into basketball. He's a 30-year plus high school coach. He even spent a year coaching at the college ranks. But beyond that, he's just a really insightful, thoughtful guy. He's a lawyer. He's a mediator. He has a lot of great perspective on building culture, handling conflict, and establishing himself with a new program at a school like San Marin, which has had a storied basketball program, is a very strong football program currently. It was just a really fun conversation. I really enjoyed speaking with Coach Lav. So Duff, let's get this episode out. Dibbs, thanks for coming over to Sleepy Hollow and hanging with us. We even gave Dibbs the option, hey, we could meet closer to the freeway. He was coming from the East Bay, coming out to Marin to meet with us, and then he had to go to the city to record his radio show. And Duffy lives, deep in the annals of Sleepy Hollow. And we offered Dibbs, like, hey, we could meet at my house. I'm in Kentfield. I'm closer to the freeway. He said, no, I need the Hollow. So Dibbs is an OG. We love you, Dibbs. Enjoy the episode, everybody.
So halfway, right by where the open space gate is.
Yeah.
There was a lady who had a room for rent for $500. Yep. And so I rented a room for about 3 months when I was coming back from my failed stint at Cal State Northridge. And so I was a Sleepy Hollow resident.
It wasn't a failed stint. It was 5 junior years.
5 glorious junior years.
5 glorious junior years.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going right now.
We're going. Great.
Right.
Well, I just Fawn Drive. I'm on Fawn Drive all the time. That's how I get over to work, as I go up there on my e-bike over the open space and drop down.
To Kaiser.
Flores. To Kaiser.
Okay.
Or to my offices, or to the Marin Y, where I'm going later today.
To play basketball.
So
if you can't tell, everybody, we got Dan Dibley again.
And I'm so happy to be back, and we can talk about the Marin Y run. And I heard Natu, and fantastic job with Natu. And I encourage you guys to branch out from, traditional basketball.
Yeah.
Because that was a lot of football, and Natu's a legend. And it had me thinking about my time at the Marin Y run, which was the most broken run ever in the 90s, where every possession was a foul followed by an argument, followed by a further argument. And so I hope that the run has changed. And, I loved your story about having Natu post you up, and, you're giving away about 140 pound stuff to the big fella.
Yeah.
And
so crab dribble, move me off the court and score.
Yeah, you have no answer for that.
When I was a freshman at Stanford, I was playing intramurals, and we had on our schedule, my dorm, we were playing the golf team. And so we thought, oh, sweet, a golf team. This is going to be easy. It turned out it was the Stanford football team who purported to be the golf team. So I was guarding Justin Armour, who was a NFL wide receiver, 6'6", 240. Playing basketball against high-level football players is a different game.
Yeah.
It is the physicality of football. I was like, okay, I'm glad I don't play football. So it's interesting. You were talking about the Y run and how there was always arguments. And I remember last time we spoke with you, our first episode, what was that, Duff, episode 14? But you were talking about the Drake outdoor run, obviously. And one of the things I remember you said was super competitive, but there wasn't a lot of arguments to the point where the game would stop. It would be tight games, foul calls late as always. But you said it was very good spirited and competitive, but not. So it's interesting. So that the Y run, it would devolve into.
Yeah. The Y, it felt to me, and I wasn't a Y member, so I'd get a +1 occasionally, and I'd go there, and it always felt like it was just overly contentious. And I think back then they had a 12-minute clock where It wasn't play to 10. It was play to 10 or 12 minutes. And so
Okay.
sometimes these arguments would make it to where a game would end up 5-4 and, every possession would be late in the game and there'd be a foul. And I love what Tom Poser said on the pod. And as you can tell, I'm a super diehard listener.
You're our best student.
Well, and the idea about the offense calling the foul or the defense calling the foul,
Yeah.
where I haven't played in a lot of runs where the defense actually calls the foul, but that would be like the nirvana of pickup games where the defender says, I fouled you. But in all the games I played, that's so rare where the defender actually says, no, let's stop. I fouled you. Normally it's the offensive player saying, you breathed near me. I'm going to have to call that.
So speaking of other sports, you mentioned tennis. My wife is very into tennis. Tennis is a great sport. I'm not very good at it. I'm always fascinated by tennis. You are at the whim of your opponent's line calls.
Yeah.
And that could be really frustrating if you're playing against an opponent who is potentially ethically compromised, let's say.
That's a nice way to put it.
Thank you.
The other word would be cheater.
Cheater.
Right.
That would be very frustrating. Did that ever happen to you when you played tennis?
Constantly. And it happened to me and it happened by me. And I'm going to be fair and balanced here. And, there'd be some calls when I was younger.
Yeah.
It was called a hook, when you would hook somebody.
And
there'd be especially a call like on your baseline where the other person is 60 feet away and it's out. And even though it may have caught line or, and you would hook your opponent, maybe it would be, break point or game point. And so the idea of getting hooked, and then a lot of times you'd have to bring the coach over, either your coach or their coach, and they'd have to monitor the situation, which is uncomfortable and unfortunate, but sometimes you have to. When you get hooked once, it's okay. It's human error. And
Yes.
you get hooked again, it's no, we're going to need to get an adult here to try to adjudicate what's going on. Thank you.
The vocab.
It's coming.
The vocab of the dib.
Yeah.
Duffy, you don't have
I
to
have
raise
a
your
tennis
hand.
question because now this basketball podcast is really morphed. I love this. So have you ever, I used to play tennis, not very good, no backhand, but have you ever, a lob's going over your head, it's going to drop in. You can see it's going to drop in.
Are you asking between the legs?
You position your body so that
They can't see.
they cannot see it, and then you call it out.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah,
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. And I wish that I was more of an ethical competitor as a younger person. And now that I'm in my 50s and quietly in the back nine of my 50s, it's different. But when I was younger and my super competitive nature made it so that I wanted to do anything that I could to win, even though in tennis, especially, and that's a perfect case where the lob goes over and you kind of position yourself. So your opponent, there's no way they can see it. And then you put the finger up and it's out. And, you move on, and don't shake your head.
The lesson is don't try and lob over dibs, just
when you're as small as me and you go to the net, they're going to lob you,
Yeah.
especially when I have such delicate hands.
I mean, deft touch.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yes.
But-
Speaking of deft touch, can we segue into what we were just talking about before we started recording? Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Warriors. Let's talk about the NBA, Duff and Dibs.
I think the Warriors are far more interesting and better than many of us would have thought in the early going. And I know that they've got Memphis tonight, and by the time this is released, that game will have been resolved. But we can look back at what we've seen so far, which is a win at Boston, which was
incredible win.
Yes, no Jaylen Brown, but fine. And
Still.
Kristaps Porzingis hurt as always.
Yeah.
But you go to Boston, a team that was 37-4 last year at home, and you win. And it looked like that game might have gotten away, but you won. And then the Dallas game, which I was lucky enough to be at.
Wow.
The game with the Clay return and the tipping of the captain's hat. And, they had a lead, they trailed, they had a lead, they trailed, and then they trailed again. And Steph Curry, good little player.
He's decent.
Yeah.
He can play a little bit.
I like his chances going forward, but
How about Draymond's defense?
Draymond is phenomenal. And I think about it because, Duff, you're 6'4", right? Roughly.
Good day.
Calm down,
Yeah,
Dibs.
well, I mean,
he's 6'3".
He might have been 6'4" once, but based on
his hair's a little high right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
he is. But and as you know, getting older, and turns out you're older than I thought.
Thank you.
You start getting smaller.
Mhm.
I was 5'9" for about 18 weeks, And then now I'm back to, I might be 5'7" now. Good Lord, who knows? But Draymond is 6, whatever, probably 6'4". He's listed at 6'6", but his wingspan is 7'1".
Yeah.
And the way he plays is so incredible. And we actually talked yesterday on our show, 95.7 The Game, Willard and Dibs, 2-6, keep it locked.
Here you go.
And we were talking about our favorite play from that game. And my favorite play came in the first quarter where Draymond closes out, blocks the shot, it bounces, he jumps, saves it from going out of bounds, and throws a one-arm hook pass to a teammate at half court.
Yeah.
It was a block, a save, and a pass. He is incredible what he does defensively
He's incredible.
at 6'4".
Well, I saw a great clip of Kenny Atkinson, actually, early season with the Cavs. Former Warriors assistant, now coaching the Cavs. Cavs are, one of the top teams in the league now. But he was showing his team. He's like, this is what Draymond does. And Kenny was at the top of the key, and he got a pass from one wing, and he zipped it to the other wing. What we coaches would call a swing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, that's Draymond's game. So obviously defensively, he does so many incredible things, but offensively, he is a connector, and he just has such a feel where he knows, okay, the ball's got to swing from one side to the other. As coaches, we emphasize this all the time. And I told my kids that I'm coaching, just watch Draymond, how he zips the ball from side to side, gets the defense to shift. It's just, he's such a high IQ player.
That 1 out of 5 times he will fake that pass, and it will look exactly like he's going to pass, and he'll just rip through and go.
And he'll keep it.
And it'll be a layup. There will be no one with
Or the dribble handoffs, right? He'll do a dribble handoff, and then all of a sudden, you never know, he's going to keep it, right? And he's going to fake the dribble handoff. And so the thing about him this year, though, he's in shape. He's under control, at least emotionally, seemingly.
Yeah.
He just seems really locked in.
Right. And I do think that part of that was, off-season fitness. He looks more slender. And if you ever notice when he comes off the court, though, it's an absolute igloo from the trainers. It's ice on the knees, it's ice on the back, and sometimes on the neck. And, that's part of just getting older. But he is more fit. And I do think that he had a moment in the offseason where last year was a disaster. He had a choke of Gobert suspended. He had a flail punch of Nurkic suspended. And those games hurt them so much, and they were so close to the playoffs. And then he got in the offseason and realized, I've only got a few more of these. So can I get fit? Can I change my attitude? And I do think this year, and I've been calling him Draymond 2.0, where, there's a certain amount of attitude shift. He's still ferocious on the court.
Yeah.
But when you look at even how he's interacting with officials, he will be animated, but he knows where the line is, and he doesn't go too far. And it's early, but I really like what I've seen from him.
Yeah. And the shooting. I mean, the shot looks good, right?
Yeah.
Mid 40%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were mentioning that Kuminga has been a topic around the 95.7 offices. I mean, and it's interesting. So Kuminga, obviously for a couple years, incredible athlete, so much upside, so much potential. And now he's been asked to come off the bench, but he's playing great. So just discuss your perspective on Kuminga and how and also just how Kerr is managing this incredibly deep roster.
Right. And I do think with Kuminga, it's so nuanced because he's a young player, and I think he might be 22 now.
Yeah.
He's in his 4th year. He didn't play high school, really. He went straight. He didn't go to college. He went to the G League, where when you're in the G League, you're not really playing for a team. Like, you guys are both coaching high school, and it's about the individual, but it's also about the team. It's learning to play in a team construct. And he went straight to a G League situation where it's about you and your development and how do you get to the league. So I do think that some of the things that we expect from players who have 2 or 3 years in college, things that you learn about team and team concept, he never got. And now he's in a contract year, and he's being asked to come off the bench. And so I do think that there's a little bit of, not frustration, but angst about, him wanting to get what he can get in the off season, which, he sees some of his draft mates getting, like Franz Wagner, $45 million a year and all these other things. And the Warriors basically told him in the off season, no, we're not ready to give you that kind of a contract. We're going to need to see 1 more year of it. And now he's being asked to be a bench player. He's not benched, but he's coming off the bench, and he is thriving. So my thing and I want to ask you guys both this because it's a question that I've had, and you're both so knowledgeable about basketball. Some of the things that he is still developing, a lot of people say it's basketball IQ, it's the knowledge of the game, it's the things that aren't skill based. Is that something you can learn? And you guys have seen that as coaches. Can you teach players like the feel of the game? Because Kuminga is so athletic, he's so gifted, and in so many ways, but the one area that he needs to improve upon, I wonder if you guys think that a player can improve those sorts of intangible things.
Fantastic question.
Thank you.
Duffy, go.
Yes, I think they can, but I think it's harder to coach it. I think playing experience, and I think we were texting, we're talking about 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, came from an Erickson study, made popular by Malcolm Gladwell. And what I've read and understood about that is that 10,000 hours is not magic. It could be based on the person. It could be based on the skill. It could be 2,000 hours. It could be 3,000 hours. It could be 20,000 hours. For some people with some skills, it could be infinite. They'll never get there. They don't have the aptitude. So basketball, I think it's a spectrum. And someone like Kuminga may need 12,000 hours. Someone like James Wiseman may never, ever get there, right? I mean, he just didn't have the feel. You could see that. I think Kuminga has enough of the feel. But if I'm trying to get my players to get that feel, high school level, it's playing a lot of pickup, it's playing with older players, it's watching film, and then it's just kind of, yapping at them a little bit during the game, like go that move, flash. And, they flash, but it's a little late. And I'd like to think that over time it does develop the feel, but it's clear certain players have it more than others. Right.
I think agree with what you said. I also think it's understanding your role on the team. I was just listening to our buddy Alex Pribble was on another podcast. Believe it or not, there are other podcasts that focus on basketball dudes.
Yeah,
Don't listen to them.
No,
He did not even mention us.
He didn't mention us. Prib, we're going to have words.
I only listen to one other podcast, and it's the Trevor Noah podcast, and he just had Malcolm Gladwell on, which is why it was top of mind.
We've been trying to get Gladwell on Run TMC. He hasn't responded to us. But
We can't go to his left.
well, obviously.
Yeah.
He's tall, though. Prib was on this podcast called Slapping Glass, which is a great basketball podcast. And he was talking about at his Idaho team, he has every guy on his team write down what he thinks his role is on this team. And then he has every coach do the same for every player. What do you think Dibley's role is on our team? Right? He's obviously not a rebounder.
No. Usually it was handing out water and towels.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Or calling, lines out on tennis court.
Yeah.
Kuminga, I think, struggled in the first couple of years with his role. And I think there was a disconnect between what he thought his role was and what Kerr thought his role was. And I don't know if the communication was, because you could see Kuminga, sometimes his body language wasn't great, right, on the bench. And you watch the game as a kind of innocent bystander, you watch the game saying, that guy is so talented. Why is he not playing 30 minutes a game? And I think it was, he wasn't playing team defense the right way. His shot selection wasn't great. And shot selection is really important in the NBA. And so to kind of learning feel, your question's a great question. I think it comes from reps like Duffy was saying, but also I think it's understanding his role and contributing to the team the way that the team needs him to.
Yeah.
And I think like the classic example of this, we've talked about this before on this pod, is Iguodala, right? Iguodala came to the Warriors as a all-star, a scorer for Philly. He was always had started, and Kerr convinced him to come off the bench. And if Iguodala had said, you know what, screw you, like what the F,
Right.
it wouldn't have worked. But he accepted his role and was perfect as the sixth man.
I do think it's a little bit different because by the time that happened, Iguodala was in his early 30s.
Totally
and,
fair.
Kuminga is 22. And he's still trying to grasp that first real thing. He's trying to get that bag. And, he looks at all his other classmates and Cade Cunningham and so many others. And he's thinking, I want what they have. And the way you get it is by going out there and being a volume scorer. But he's on a team that's looking to win. And they look like they're a winning team again. And you think about what they added with Buddy Hield, a veteran, and Kyle Anderson, a veteran, and Anthony Melton, even though he is hurt now. And he'll probably still be hurt by the time this gets released. And so you've got kind of strength in numbers. And now you're asking Kuminga to be a bench player. And so I do think that it takes some nurturing. And that's where Steve Kerr has been so good, and we're lucky to talk to him every week on our show.
Yeah.
And he talks about the value of direct communication. And, you as a new first-time head coach,
Yeah.
and, Duff as an assistant and a coach, and it's so important. And, I don't mean to be the interviewer and you guys be the guest, but I did want to ask about something you guys talked about cuts and
Yeah.
like how you handle cuts. Because for me as a head coach, and I coached volleyball for, 20 years at Drake, now Archie, at San Rafael, and all the rest of it, that was always hard for me because the best way to do it is a face-to-face conversation. And you're giving bad news.
Yeah.
And being in the medical profession, I mean, you do that a lot, so maybe it's easier for you, but
Yeah.
how do you guys handle that?
Yeah, I find it really, really difficult because I tend to be an includer, and I don't, especially kids these age, especially if they put in a lot of work, and you can see how much it would mean to them to make the team. Very hard to tell them they just can't play on this team. Now, of course, there are other basketball opportunities, and one of the messages we gave the kids, and fortunately we didn't have to cut very many at Archie, but one of the messages we gave was like, basketball is a lifetime sport. Just because you don't make this team this year doesn't mean that you can't have basketball be a huge part of your life going forward. And we use the example of Mikey Claggett, who works at
Exactly.
Archie, great basketball player, coach of Branson, didn't make his high school varsity team at Redwood. And they all know Mikey and they've seen him play. So hopefully that resonated. But the main thing we did, because we knew we were going to have to cut some kids this year because we had this junior class, which is really strong junior class, is we started doing evaluations in the summer. So anyone who was a potential varsity player, we were just tracking plays, positive and negative plays over summer league games. And even without showing them sort of what they look like, I think they kind of started to sort of segregate a little bit and know. So we ended up having some kids that just didn't come out. And, I felt bad for them, but in some ways, the process hopefully allowed them to accept it in a way that just to sit down, you're cut, and they didn't see it coming moment wouldn't have, because that would be like potentially traumatic for a long period of time.
Self-segregate. That's incredible.
I mean, very, very well said. I would echo that the opportunities to play basketball outside of the high school system now are better than they've ever been. So that's one thing where if a kid, now we didn't also just happen to be a situation for me where we didn't have any cuts either. It was pretty clear who our team was going to be.
Right.
But there are kids that I have to have the hard conversation of playing time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mentioned this, I sent it my kind of missive to parents.
Bless you.
And yes, Kenya, our podcast dog.
Yeah.
This is, for a lot of these kids, this is the first time when they're playing varsity basketball where they're going to be on a team where playing time is not guaranteed.
Right.
Your whole life, youth basketball, CYO, even on JV, there's an assumption, freshman and JV, there's an assumption you're going to get playing time. Everybody plays, right? Because it's not about winning. It's about developing players. Now at the varsity level, okay, now it's not a business, but it's a more results-oriented thing. So for some of these kids, they're going to be sitting on the bench all game, and that's going to be an adjustment for them. And so communication, I think, is really important that they understand.
Right.
This is your role today. Change that and earn it in practice.
Yeah.
Right. That's the bottom line. Like, you play hard, you compete, but having the conversation about cuts in today's game, you could go play 24/8 NBBA, you could play club basketball, get better, and then next year come on back. I mean, that's different than it was 20 years ago.
No doubt. And that, to me, is the Steve Kerr part of this, where, we've talked to him about Moses Moody, who some days he's in the 10-man rotation, some days he's not. And Kevon Looney had his games played streak snapped by the coach, not due to injury. He was up around 200 or so games. And one night last year, Kerr said, "You're not going to play, and I know you have a streak, and I'm sorry, but you're not in the rotation." And so it's that direct communication, which is hard. And I'm glad to hear you guys, say it the way you've said it, because it's not easy when you look at a 16-year-old kid who, has busted his or her hump to be a part of it. And, you've got 13 spots or whatever it is, and they're player 14 or player 15. And, I like, Duff, what you were saying about, the self-segregation part of summer, where there's a lead up and, kids are able to see, geez, I'm probably player 18 right now. And so maybe I won't go out because I know how this goes. It's like doing the heavy lifting early That way, when you get to the point on October 23rd and it's tryout day, it's like, geez, I don't like my chances unless you're Mike Delosio, as I continue to revert back to my favorite podcast. And I told you guys both in text that that's a movie. This man was player 18.
Yeah.
And he was told, no, stop coming. And yet he showed up at Bobby Knight's door day after day after day. So I don't know if you guys have, kids who are that determined, but if you were confronted by that, you may have to, add an extra player based on what Mike Delosio did at Indiana.
So Duff, go ahead, tell your recent Delosio story.
Well, yeah, he actually came to practice this week.
Wow.
Archie, and
Okay.
it's the first time he'd been back in the gym for a very long time. So,
Yeah.
I think he got a little emotional just coming in the gym. But we had him come into the team room, which is a little room back behind the football locker room.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very narrow little room. And it's got Doug Donnellan did a nice job of putting up, some accomplishments of the team over the years, MCAL championships and NCS championships. It's got a bunch of signed balls, including one by John Wooden. Anyway, we had the kids back there, and Mike spoke to them for about 25 minutes, telling his story, but also at every point along his story where he got to a nadir in his story. So he has gone from, he's transferred from Santa Rosa to Drake. Cap Lavin has taken him under his wing, and now it's the start of practice. He's playing for Pete Hayward, and he's playing like shit. He's like, I was playing so shitty. And so now he's packed up his car, and he's about to go back. He's about to move back to Santa Rosa. And Pete Hayward, just kind of grabs him, puts his arm around him, and is like, just give me 3 more weeks. Give me 3 more weeks. We can turn it around.
Yeah.
And then, so he, at that point, pauses, and then he just looks at all the kids, and before he even starts talking, he's doing a sideways 5 to all of them. And he says, what would you think, you would do in that situation if that with you? And he kind of just talks through different options for kids. And then one of the things that he said that I thought was super cool was, if you really, in this situation, especially if you've had challenges in your life, and especially if you don't believe in yourself, find an adult mentor who believes in you. And it doesn't have to be your parent or your coach or a teacher. And he said, for me at Santa Rosa, it was the custodian. The custodian would see me shooting around and, after practice, and just told me that I could do anything in basketball. And he's like, just, find someone.
Right.
And so I could see that and then it just went on from there. And at the end, he was cussing and challenging the kids to, he's like, for those guys who don't think you're going to start, look at what I did, never believe any one path is going to be your path. You can always change it.
Yeah.
So it was really, really powerful.
His story is incredible, and it makes me think about something else we were sharing via text about coaching trees and how important that is. And, Pete Hayward, because Mike's gone on to coach, and we could talk about Jimmy Saya and, Mike Saya and Mike Fulton and Steve Lavin, and you can go on and on.
We just interviewed Paul Trevor. It hasn't come out yet, but Paul Trevor. I mean, unbelievable.
He was actually coaching at SF State when I was trying to finally close the door on my academic journey.
Ooh, Dib's got his degree.
Yeah, after 13 years.
Okay.
1999.
Last month?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. As a 31-year-old.
Yeah.
Hey. And it just a quick aside, I was playing in the Santa Fe B League that year, April 14th, hadn't done my taxes yet, going to the hoop, and my brother Mikey 1.0, who I love and despise equally, he's trailing the play. We're down 8 with about 1:10 to go, and he's just shuffling down the court, shouting ball,
just
ball.
Just waiting for the ball.
Waiting for a 30-footer.
Right.
Mike was the original bomber. And so I'm not going to pass it to him. So I'm going hard with the left hand, and I became ambidextrous in my, thanks to Chris Mullen. And so I'm going for a left-hand layup, plant my left foot, and my knee goes about 7 feet to the right. And it's an ACL. And so I throw the ball up and scream. And as I'm going down, I put my hand down and I fracture my wrist. So now I'm on the baseline at Santa Fe High, Gym 1, and I am just nails on the floor. I am crawling in agony. And my brother saunters up, looks down at me and says, "It's not that bad." And I'm like, and finally I get to my feet, and with an ACL tear, you can walk.
Yeah.
You can't plant or pivot or turn, but So I limp to the bench, and he, of course, shoots the free throws for me, hits them both.
Got some points out of it.
Yeah, next thing I know, I go to the doctor the next day, and the doctor's like, yeah, ACL tear, and you fractured your wrist. So I've got a full leg and a full arm, and I was the esteemed graduate in the broadcasting program. So the next month at graduation, I'm interviewing all the other graduates. I got a cap and gown on, full leg and a full arm, and let's go down to Dan Dibley with our oldest graduate. Yeah, hey Agnes, how you doing? And it was
You're like a full body cast.
Full body, straight out of Splash. For those of you who
Exactly.
But anyway, that was my Santa Fe High, and that was the end of my basketball career, by the way.
So you never played again? Yeah, I'm sure you shot around, right? But
Sure.
but
I've
you've
never
played in a
actually
game.
played in a game since, and basketball kind of broke me. I went on to be a marathoner, and I ran some ultra marathons, but basketball from that point on was, I couldn't really do it anymore. And I was a high effort player anyway.
Of course.
So like to be 5'8" and to be able to play with Bucky Chavez, shout out Bucky, makes every podcast.
Thank you.
And Eddie Joe, and when Pat Sandal's in town, and Steve Spencer, to be able to play with them in a like minor role playing late in the day way, for me was like the high watermark. But to do that, I had to play absolutely, completely 100% max effort.
Right.
I can't glide as a Duffy Ballard at 6'4" and just, silky smooth.
Feathery jumpers.
Yeah, and all the rest of it. So
Yeah. Really good tennis player too, Duffy is, I know.
As a future guest wrote me via text message yesterday, the older I get, the better I was.
no doubt. And that's fair.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
You were talking about coaching trees,
Yeah.
and I like that topic. Hey, Pete has a robust coaching tree. Honick has an amazing
Yeah. And
coaching
you're now a part
tree.
of it.
I'm a small part of it that might die on the vine, but we'll see. But Fulton, like replacing Fulton has been really tough because he was such a legend and such a force of personality. But I'm thinking about, for you, Duff, Russ. I would put Russ in the Doug Denetlen and Jonas kind of coaching tree. Is that fair?
I would put him more in the Jonas. I know Doug
Yeah.
has had influence, but yeah, I'd put him more in Jonas because he spent 5-6 years at Branson.
Yeah, I guess so. He played for Doug in high school, but then right as a coach, really he was kind of there with Jonas. But Tyler Gaffney, who I watch every day, who's just unbelievable coach. It's a college practice every day, and I'm feeling very inadequate as I'm waiting to take the court and coach my team. But he was coached by Bob Donlin, who came through the MC systems, and you got Rick Winter, and it's just really cool when you think about these legends of the Marin game,
Right.
And they're passing it on, they're paying it forward.
If we can just spend a moment on Bob Donlin, because for me, it evokes a couple of different things.
Yeah.
One, him as a CYO player. And I don't know if I shared this with you guys before or not. A lot of times I'm listening to the podcast and I'll just do like spoken word. And I hope I don't bother you too, because I know that
We
you're
love it.
adults and you're very busy, but he is the best CYO player I've ever seen.
That was going to be one of my questions for you, given your CYO reffing
Yeah.
ability. So go. Yeah.
St. Isabella.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he played for his father, but his father was omnipresent vocabulary, which means he was always there.
Mm-hmm.
And Bobby, as a player, and at the time I was still doing some A games and I was reffing the top level games.
Yeah.
And if I was to say greatest boy, because he was a boy at the time, he was the one. He would get the ball, and wherever he would go up and shoot, and it went in. St. Isabella. That's it. The best female player I ever saw, Michelle Bravelli Smith. She was, and her team was great, and they had a great rivalry with St. Pat's. And I think I told the story last time I was on about
that her mom was all over you.
All over me, and her dad was just quietly in the top row, just taking it all in.
NBA, college and NBA coach.
And that's when I was doing the top finals games. This is probably in the early 90s, I would guess. And, now I'm happy just reffing alone and doing the 4B, 5B, and, doing a lot more teaching than I am reffing.
Mm-hmm.
But
just getting mad at me when I call timeouts late.
That's just unnecessary.
It's all right.
And I got a schedule to keep. And it's
fine. fine.
It's funny that you say that because whenever a coach does that in a game that's already been decided and the coach says, oh, I just want to run a play, my comment always is, this play better work. And for Dave, the play actually worked.
It worked.
And so I ran by and said, all right, I think I apologize because, you're up 8 with 14 seconds left. Let's go. I got lunch to eat. Let's keep it moving. Oh, I want to try this play out.
By the way,
It
have you seen Dibbs eat his lunch in between games? It's aggressive.
It has to be.
I don't think I've ever seen you officiating. I don't think we've crossed paths in CYO.
He's
right?
athletic. He's poetic. He's balletic. But really, it's between games.
Balletic?
You've got your that's a word. You've got your sandwich or whatever you do, and you have to deliver this food in a short amount of time.
Right.
There's an intensity about you. Before this is pre-podcast, I came up to say hello, right? Because we're old friends.
Yeah.
And you gave me a look like, get the fuck out of here. I'm eating my sandwich right
Yeah,
now.
it's going to have to be quick.
Yeah.
I don't have time for a little back and forth.
I appreciate that because that's an emergency physician mentality right there. It's like
Exactly.
if you get a chance to urinate, you better urinate or else it could be in your pants. If you have a chance to eat, you better shove it down.
And when you're reffing, 8 games and the games are at 8:45, 9:45, 10:45,
Right.
etc., and the games take usually 53 minutes and you want to run on time and there's 5 minutes between, you may have only a 5-minute break. Halftime's only 3.5 minutes. So it's either shovel at halftime or go between games. And, you got to keep it moving.
I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Short of being cliched and maudlin, I want you to tell me what the best part of being a CYO ref is for you.
For me, it is being able to see young kids enjoying what I enjoyed, especially at St. Vincent's. And I think I said this last time in Crunch Time, my favorite gym is St. Vincent's.
Yes.
And when I played in the late 70s, the floor was tile. It was tile on top of concrete. And now the gym is actually nice.
It's actually a nice gym. It
Yeah,
is.
it's nice, but
It's cold.
and I
AF.
love it. I love it being cold
Oh.
because cold parents complain less than warm parents.
Okay.
These are facts.
Mm.
And I'm 30 whatever years into refereeing.
Yeah.
And so I sometimes will even open the door to just get a nice breeze going through. Because
Just
when
to
you
make it
have a
Arctic.
shivering Mill Valley mom or a trembling Tiburonian dad, they've got nothing to say
Yeah.
because they're too cold to argue. If you're warm and comfortable, you might, that was a travel. First of all, I know it was a travel, but I don't call traveling until about late January. We're going to go ahead and let little Susie or little Timmy take 4 inconsequential steps.
As long as you're consistent both ways.
Well, and I will call it if it's consequential. Like if you're going to travel and then go to the hoop, that's a travel. If you are
At
Brooke
Court.
or Blake or Logan or, Meadow or Willow, and I
More
could go,
Tiburonian
I
names.
could go on and on. If you are clearly like barely holding on to your basketball career and you get the ball and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, who can I throw it to?
Right.
We're going to let that go.
Let that go.
So for me, my favorite part is watching, especially the 4th and 5th graders, more 4th graders, because it's their first time doing this, and
Mhm.
watching them like emerge and watching a kid throw something up and it goes in, and you've got especially the young girls because those games might be 8-6, and so every basket is like a soccer goal. There's a celebration, and and also some of the plays they call, it's an out of bounds play. Blueberry muffin, run blueberry
Yeah.
muffin.
Donut.
Or it's so many, it's hilarious, like all that,
That's
Sugar
great.
Patch or
So go Duff.
Well, I have more questions on the Warriors, so I hope we come back to the Warriors. But first of all,
Yeah.
first a comment, which is, I always tried to impress upon parents and kids the importance of eating well. I named all my plays after vegetables.
Broccoli.
Broccoli.
not very sexy, but sensible, and I like
Very
that.
sensible.
That
Yes,
explains
kale.
Duffy.
Let's run kale
Yeah.
on 2.
Yeah.
in what we do.
Okay, omega-3 fatty acids on 1. Let's go.
Exactly right.
We were talking about coaching trees. Have you recruited people to become referees? Do you have like an officiating tree that, like, since you've been doing this so long, do you have the official tree of dibs?
Yeah, I really don't, and I wish that I did, but I had scorekeeping trees, my two sons would always come over, and we lived in Oakland, and I had my oldest son, who's now a Cal grad. Apologies.
Nice.
The better of the universities, as you well know.
Good heavens.
Shout out not to. And when he was even when he was a 7th grader, I would bring him over from Oakland and kind of teach him what having a job was about. And we'd come over and do 7 or 8 games, and he'd have his sandwich and I'd have mine, and we'd work together. But not living in Marin, I don't have a chance to really cultivate the official tree like I would like. But I do want to encourage everyone listening to this to give it a try. If you're a high schooler and you're looking at a way to make pretty good money, and also learn about the game in a different way. And for me, as a basketball coach, I was adequate at best. As a basketball player, I was like mediocre at my apex, but officiating is where I found my comfort zone because I understand the game. I know the rules. I have good judgment, and I'm not afraid to make a call. And so for me, officiating has been where I've been most comfortable. My problem is I don't work well with others. So solo reffing, which is 4th and 5th grade, B's, not A's.
Yep.
I'll do the 4th grade A girls. Those games are hard doing it solo because, you know, the expectations of the A players, now the coaches are going to be animated and the players are, and the parents are going to be agitated. But I just enjoy refereeing because, you know, something happens, you make a judgment, and then we move on.
Steve Kerr as a CYO coach. We're going to tie it back to the Warriors.
Yeah.
We wrote this down. Discuss.
He's kind of coaching like a CYO coach this year, where he's going to play 12 guys, and, you know, they don't stop the game for substitutions like we do in CYO, but he kind of is doing that where everybody's getting, you know, at least 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You might get 10, you might get 15. And it's kind of funny because in the NBA, normally it's you play 9 or maybe you play 10. And this year he's playing 12. And as you guys know from being former CYO coaches, if you've got 12, you probably have no chance. If you've got 10, that's not ideal. 8 is the optimal number.
Perfect number.
8's perfect. That way your best 5 can play more, and your other 3, you can kind of fit them in and you can get them their minutes, but then you can still go out there and chase the W. And I see this a lot with teams that have 10. Unless you have a really good balanced 10, it's not going to work for you.
10,
right.
Come on.
Right.
Kenny, I'll miss you.
Yeah. Come back after you're done, after you scratch your itch. Here we go, Kenny.
So, Dibbs, I'm curious for your perspective on this. The NBA season is so long.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about where the Warriors are now. They're looking great. We can listen to this in 2 months, and it's going to feel like it was years ago. So I heard somebody describe this. Maybe it was Barkley saying that Phil Jackson used to recommend you break up the season into like 8, 10 game season, right? So you just kind of little bite sizes. So let's win these next 10 games. Let's go 7-3, and then we'll address the next 10. What's your perspective on how to navigate this 82 game slog that these guys have to go through?
Well, the way they are now navigating it is that you just get to a spot where you can be a top 6 seed and you're a playoff team, and then you can worry about what really matters in April. And so that's where last year for the Warriors was so difficult because they fell behind the 8 ball and they had to chase wins.
Yeah.
This year, they're in a spot at 9-2 as we are recording, and by the time this airs, they'll probably still be in a good spot.
Yeah.
And you bank wins early, and then you can kind of play around a little bit later.
Right.
And what we've learned is you don't have to be the number 1 seed to win the NBA title anymore. And you think about the Warriors back in 2022, I think they were a 3 seed, and they still won the title. So it's more important to be good in April than it is in November. So these teams now are starting to, you know, play around a little bit. And the regular season doesn't have the urgency of the NFL. When you got 17 games and, you know, you need to win. You need to win this week. And baseball is kind of like the NBA where you can hang around, and Arizona, not this past season, but the year before, they were in the last wild card and they went to the World Series. So the NBA is kind of in that same mode, and they've tried to create urgency with the NBA Cup, formerly known as the IST, the in-season
tournament. Yeah.
And it's a quaint notion. And I do think that they're going to figure out how to make it actually matter. giving multi-millionaires 500 grand is not enough of a motivator. What we talked about on our show is, what if you gave the in-season tournament, the NBA Cup winner, an automatic playoff spot? So if you were Portland or Utah, a team that has no chance to make the playoffs, then those games would actually matter.
That's a great idea.
Or automatic play-in spot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I said on the show was like a seed elevation. So if you were the 7 seed, you jump to 6. And if you're the 11, you jump to 10. Automatic seed elevation.
I like that.
It'd be an elevation sensation.
I heard elevation sensation.
Shout out Tim Roy. Yeah.
I was with you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I heard Draymond and Baron Davis' podcast, again, another podcast that is not as good as ours. But Draymond was talking about how, we don't care about the 500 grand, but that court is painted different and it's a different game. You care. I thought that was interesting perspective.
Right.
I mean, by the way, I think they really cared because it was Clay and it was Dallas.
Of course.
But there is this different intensity to those NBA Cup games. And maybe it's just because it's just a different environment with the way the floor is painted or what it is.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, I don't think the $500,000 to those guys, it's like me saying, Dibs, I'll give you $10 to.
But it's good on the resume. The Lakers looked happy last year.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Sure.
Couple questions.
Yeah.
Both of you. So do you think Kerr went into the season planning to play 12? That's the first question. Or did it kind of just evolve that way? And question number 2, when we're getting to the playoffs, obviously can't play 12. Who are the top 5? Who's starting for the Warriors, and then who's playing minutes for them? Assuming everyone's healthy, assuming no trades, which are big assumptions.
Right.
Playoffs.
I think that he came in expecting to play 12 because of the nature of the roster and the way you've got kind of unique pieces. Kyle Anderson, great on defense, not so much on offense. Kevon Looney, kind of a matchup player where in certain games he's a great matchup, in other games he's not. And then the rest of the roster is a little bit piecemeal. You've got Steph and Draymond, and then you've got, in Wiggins, if Wiggins can play the way he has so far, he's a mainstay. And then you've got 9 question marks, and Buddy Hield against Dallas the other night he wasn't great. And so he didn't play as much. And so I think Steve kind of takes his 12 or 13, if you count Lindy Waters, who's played great in spots. And
who's legit. I mean, unbelievable.
He's legit. He's more of the insurance policy, I think. And so I do think when you get down to April and you are in the playoffs, it gets down to 10, if not 9, and barring a trade, of course. And that's where he's going to have to figure out, when you get into those series, the matchup and the players he wants to use.
A great thing that happened to the Warriors by happenstance was, I don't want to ever see anybody get injured, but when Steph got injured early and they still competed, and those guys got to, and so Hield starts, being Buddy Hield, the good Buddy Hield, and Lindy Waters gets some minutes, and Pajemski steps up, and Melton starts to hit shots, and you see these other guys step up and fill those minutes. And it wasn't like, okay, we're just biding our time until Steph gets back, but we're actually a competitive team. I thought that was great.
Playing great defense. I mean, they played great defense.
So that's the other thing. Yes. I mean, I think Stackhouse has had a really big impact. Jerry Stackhouse is an assistant coach and sort of the defensive coordinator for them, has had a huge impact. The team is playing defense differently than they did last year and the last couple of years. Right.
And you can look at Stackhouse, and you're right to do so, but also think about Klay Thompson, whose defense has really declined. And then you bring in DeAnthony Melton, who's a good defender, and Kyle Anderson, who's a good defender, and Draymond Green, as Duff was mentioning earlier, more fit and more focused. And so your defense, from a personnel standpoint, has gotten better. And also, I think Steve has focused on them, or told them that defense is the way they have to be. If you look at their championship years, they were an elite defensive team. Last year, I think they were 18th in defense, and this year they've been top 5 across most metrics.
Yeah.
I also, listening to your friend Larry Krueger, his podcast, and they were talking recently about a change in personnel where the Warriors don't have a backup point guard who is little, like they've had in the past, like Chris Paul, Ty Jerome, that when they are bringing the ball at the floor, and Steph's not on the floor, they can do it with Pajemski, they could do it with Anderson, slow-mo, they can have Green do it. They got a lot of different options, but on defense they stay long, and so that they've been able to be more flexible in terms of on both sides of the ball.
Right,
makes sense.
Well, as both of you know, being coaches, defense is effort and attitude. Yes, you have to be able to be a
Right.
good defender. You have to be able to move laterally. You
Sure.
have to understand the scheme and all the rest of it. But much like rebounding, it comes down to
It's just effort.
effort
Right.
and attitude. And
Yep.
if Draymond is going to have this attitude so far, and his effort has always been unquestioned, and you add these other pieces, and TJD, Trace Jackson
Yep.
Davis, is a good, not an elite, but he's good enough at rim protection, and he can defend, and you can switch 1 through 5, and that becomes, from a defensive standpoint, so important when you are a little bit of a smaller team.
Well, it's funny. The Fulton, way back to episode 1, was talking about, we were asking him, what players do you like to watch? What players do you not like? And this was over a year ago. And he said, he can't stand Luka because he doesn't play defense. Did you guys see the game last night? So,
That's it.
and I know this is, it's dating us here because this is just a one point in time, but the Mavericks had a game last night against Utah. The game was tied. Last play of the game, Utah's got the ball. They're holding it for one shot. And Luka's standing in help side defense, and he just literally spaces out. And Utah, Clarkson zips a pass by him to the guy Luka was guarding for a dunk, and they lost the game.
Yeah.
And all it was effort and focus. And he just wasn't focused. There's 10 seconds left in the tie game.
Right.
And he's probably thinking, all right, when we get the ball back, what am I going to do offensively? I mean, Luka's an incredible talent. I love you, Luka, if you listen. But he doesn't prioritize the defensive end, and that literally cost him the game.
I think the ball tickled his ear.
It went right by him. And the rest of the Mavs were looking around like, what the hell just happened? I mean, it was weird. But yeah, it's just all it is, kids listening, defense is effort, attitude, and focus.
Right.
I'm going to come back to this question, put you guys on the spot. Warriors in conference finals against OKC. All right, OKC's healthy. They got Holmgren. They got
Holmgren's
everyone.
back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who are the starting 5 for the Warriors, assuming they got everyone? And now we got Curry and Green and Wiggins. Let's assume those 3.
Yeah.
So who are the last 2?
For me, it is still DeAnthony Melton and Trace Jackson Davis. And, you probably, I don't think you put Trace on Chet, because Chet is, even though he's doing more now in the post, he's not a traditional post. You probably end up putting Draymond. You
Yeah.
put Draymond on him. You put Wiggins on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or you put Melton on him and
Yeah.
let Melton chase him around. And, you take your chances with that. I don't think that Holmgren, he's more on the perimeter. So for me, that becomes more of a Draymond matchup.
Jalen Williams, man. He looks-
Jalen Williams is the guy that scares me.
Yeah, he scares me.
He's
Oh,
really
yeah.
good. Santa Clara.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a great segue. Can I segue
You
into a new
didn't
topic?
answer. You didn't answer.
I listen. I agree with Dib.
Okay.
No, I love this question. I was waiting for this one.
So
I
I
know
wanna-
right where you're going.
Yes, I want to talk about Bay Area college basketball. So let's think about the Bay Area college basketball teams. We obviously have Stanford and Cal in that order. Thank you. We have USF. We have
Sure.
St. Mary's.
Yeah,
we have
you're
Santa
way out
Clara.
of order now, but go ahead.
We have just
It's
let
your
me
show.
let me cook, Dibs.
Do it.
We have Santa Clara. I'm going to even go as far as to say we have UOP. I'm going to let Stockton take Bay Area status. Is that okay?
Questionable.
It's no longer UOP, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Really?
It's Pacific.
Pacific. Olo Candy?
Well, it's like calling Dominican College?
No, it's Dominican University.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's be accurate.
Okay. So
We'll go ahead and edit
Paci-
this out in post.
Pacific. But then you said, let's talk about Dominican, San Francisco State, City College of San Francisco. So we have a lot of
Cal
different
State
college
East
teams.
Bay.
Cal State East Bay, absolutely.
Let's do this. San Jose State.
Sonoma
Anyone.
State. Sonoma State.
We can go as deep as you want. The
Sure we
answer's
can.
still the same.
Sure we can. Is Bay Area college basketball overrated, underrated, appropriately rated? Does it matter in the grand scheme of, because you hear about Philadelphia, right? The Philadelphia area has got all
Right.
these great colleges. Where does the Bay Area fit?
Well, it's properly rated, and where it's rated is it's rated in the realm of irrelevancy, and it doesn't matter, and it's sad, and it's pathetic that it doesn't matter.
How do you really feel, Dibs?
Well, and I'll let you know if you would lay out for a minute, Dave. I know this is your podcast, and Duffy, thank you for welcoming to your lovely home, and the fireplace is a nice touch. College basketball in the Bay Area does not rate. It's irrelevant other than Randy Bennett and St. Mary's.
Okay.
And Cal has been bad for 10 or 15 years. And
Yeah.
Stanford has been
Yeah.
a non-factor for almost as long. And San Jose State is perennially a doormat. And USF has little flashes.
Yep.
They'll beat Gonzaga like every 3 or 4 years at home, and everyone gets excited. And then the next game, they'll take on Loyola Marymount, and there'll be 400 people there.
Yeah.
And Santa Clara hasn't been good since my good friend Kerry Keating left. So you look at college basketball in the Bay Area, St. Mary's is a thing, and they're good. And I live in Moraga, so I see it up close and personal. But beyond that, you've got 4 or 5 Division I schools that are Tier 4 or Tier 5. And it's really, I don't get it. It's disappointing. And I don't think that the local colleges do a good enough job of recruiting Bay Area kids. And if they do, Bay Area kids who are good, they go elsewhere because these programs aren't very good.
Now, on the women's side,
Different story.
but not totally. So Stanford, obviously very, very good. Cal
Had been when Lindsay was here.
was good. And I love Sharman Smith, and I'm hoping that Cal can have a resurgence. But Santa Clara has been not that great. USF's been not that great. So even on the women's side, it has San Jose State, not really that good.
Yeah.
It's really just been Stanford women and St. Mary's men.
Right.
And that's it.
And for me, it goes beyond the interest level. It speaks to just the programs in general. And if you go back, like Tara at Stanford, one of the greatest coaches in Bay Area history, one of the greatest coaches in women's basketball history.
Absolutely.
Tough to replace her. Cal has had, Lindsay Gottlieb and then not much else, even before her or after her. So it takes the right individual to bring in the talent. And even though, like, you could have a good team and you still might not be supported is the thing here in the Bay Area, because we're kind of a pro sports town. We're pro sports and we're front runners. So if you're good, like when Tara was good, you'd have, and you remember you were there on the staff and practice player, it'd be sellout crowd.
Absolutely.
You couldn't get a ticket to those games. They were good. It was a thing. And if, a college program is not good and it's not a thing, people aren't going to show up.
Yeah. So what do you think the ACC move is going to do to Stanford and Cal basketball?
I think when Duke and Carolina come, it's going to be a big game. But when Wake Forest comes, no one's going to care.
Yeah.
And when Georgia Tech comes, it's going to be a big yawn. So it's going to be a couple more events a year. But, and those likely will be losses because, neither Cal nor Stanford, I don't think is really very good. And I wish that I was following it more closely, but I don't, just because neither program really feels like they've got much going on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think what it's going to do is put them in the bottom of the league, although I'd love to be wrong. But I would say on the positive side, it does seem that Cal, now under Madsen, is making an effort to recruit local talent. And we've seen that just, in Marin with them getting TT Carr and an offer to NJ Gray. So, maybe at least there's more of an effort being made to keep, kids that are good local rather than have your Jace Butler go to Illinois and then Washington. Like, why can't he stay in the Bay Area? We would love to have him there. Obviously, he's got to make his own decision.
Yeah.
He had some good offers, so.
That's a great point, though, about the ACC move, because now if you're recruiting locally, you can say, you're going to play at Cameron Indoor and you're going to play in Chapel Hill and you're going to be able to take on these schools. You're going to be a part of that, as opposed to, you ever been to Corvallis?
Right.
It's pretty nice in February. Bring a jacket.
The Palouse?
Right, exactly. Bring some mittens.
Okay. Yeah. We're running out of time. There are a couple things we have to hit on. Let's be quick, but I want to hit on this. Marin Athletic Foundation Hall of Fame. Our friend Melissa Boyle was just inducted. You were the MC. Discuss the evening. Discuss that organization. Give us your thoughts.
And Dave's slipping dibs a couple bills under the table right here, right? First podcasters to ever make into that.
Honorable mention.
Yeah. Well, she mentioned you. And, I had planned on mentioning it in my intro of Melissa because I'm the MC. I've done it 5 years in a row.
Yes.
And the neat part about it is they give me license to create the lineup. So, and there were 6 San Marin people going in. So I did a couple of them early, and then there were the 3 bros, I called them, Eric Egedy and Jack Rolovich and Bud Norris, former MLB pitcher.
Yes, of course.
Those 3 were all classmates, teammates, so they went boom, boom, boom. And then I wanted to save Melissa for last, thinking that she would close the show, because I think about it as a show, and I want to have, highs and lows, and so you intersperse people here and there, and then you get your marquee guest to go last, and I put her last, and she comes up there and just absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
And the thing about her speech was she was funny and personal and powerful and emotional. And for those people who don't know her story, she is fighting a battle with cancer. It's 4 or 5 years, and she has just one leg. And so she went up there on crutches, and she's just standing on her leg, and she's delivering and, running material about being a single woman, and anybody out there looking for a, one-legged woman, and just joke after joke. And
she's hilarious
and crushing it, and the presence and the moment. And beyond that, it had me thinking about her unique story and their unique story, because this, being Marin County basketball aficionados, San Marin's only won one title in the Marin County Athletic League in girls basketball, and it was her senior year.
Yeah.
They have one title, 1996. And so the unique nature of her team, her classmates, and her whole team was there. And it just made me think about some of the great moments in Marin County basketball history where you've had dynasties, and, Branson and Drake, now Archie, the boys and girls. And you could look through the history of it and see patterns and trends. And then you see these one-offs. Tam has one, Mike Evans,
of course,
and Ralph Wilson, the coaches. They won one title, the girls. And San Marin has one title, and it was Melissa Boyle, who was player of the year and the leading scorer. And so I thought that part of it was awesome. And then just hearing her speech was incredible.
Agreed. Duff and I couldn't make it, but we both were sent the speech, and I was in tears. I was laughing. I was crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really incredible. She's an incredible person, and we're very, very lucky. And again, a shout out to our friend Johnny Kearns, who really made that all happen. He introduced us to her, and we're very grateful that we had the chance to, have her on our podcast and tell her story, and have her tell her story. So thank you.
I think this is the 35th class that has gone in, and usually it's 10 per year.
Yeah.
For example, this year, Robert Tong, who was a Marin IJ photographer, no longer with us. He passed away. He was in the special contributor category. A couple of San Marin coaches, my high school classmate, Patrick Gordon, running back and track athlete at Marin Catholic.
Marin Catholic. By the way, Dibbs did not go to Drake. He went to Marin Catholic. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to flee Drake because, being the fourth Dibley, I wanted my own legacy.
Yeah. And I'm just still upset with myself that I called you a Drake.
It's okay. It's okay. I lived it. My whole life was at Drake, and then I went on to coach at Drake, and I hung banners at Drake. And I hope next time you're in Archie Williams, you take a moment to look up at the North Coast section boys volleyball pennants 02, 03, and 04. That's the dynasty that I was lucky enough to be a part of.
Were you Bob Knight-esque as you were roaming the volleyball sidelines?
It's funny you ask that, because I was the antithesis of Bob Knight. I could not have been more of an easy player coach. And this was my rule about practice. Practice starts when Andy Johnson, former multi-sport athlete, AJ, when Andy shows up to practice, that's when practice starts. So come when you want, because Andy usually had to run home and get a snack. And then Andy would come back. Practice starts when Andy shows up, and we'd do 2 hours. And so I'd open the gym and set up the net, and you'd have kids playing dodgeball, volleyball, whatever. It was just a full-on, free-for-all. And on one end of the court, there was one kid just shooting jumpers. And I asked this kid day after day, why don't you play volleyball? And he's like, no, Dibs, I'm working on my game. Alex Pribble. I couldn't. All of his best friends were on my team.
Crib.
Pete Elliott and Keith Fleming, and he's class of 03, and I had a bunch of class of 04 basketball players, and Pribble loved us. He couldn't get out of the gym, but he would not play for me because he wanted to be a college basketball player.
It worked out okay for him.
Well, I would tell him too. I'd say, let's be honest. You got no future in the game.
No lift. He's got no lift. Pete Elliott, that guy could spring. He's springy. AJ springy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pribble, he's just on the floor.
So basically, the moral of the story is don't listen to Dibbs when he gives you advice.
I told Pribble, your hoop career is going nowhere, bro. Come play volleyball and be my ninth man.
All right. I have a few rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
Okay.
We're getting near. This is like pre-crunch time because I want to have more of a discussion, Duff. Marin bowling alleys. What happened to them?
Well, bowling in general had become something that young people aren't interested in.
Why
And
is-
I'm old enough to remember Nave Lanes. I don't know if you were here, Duff, at that
yeah.
time. I don't know how
Novato.
long you.
Yeah, Nevada. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long you've been in Marin. Feels like forever, but
I was here for a while, went away for a while, came back. Yeah.
Nave Lanes,
Of course.
old school, and of course Country Club.
Country Club Bowl.
And I don't. Have you been here long enough to remember the Greenbrae bowling alley? Greenbrae.
That's what I'm talking about.
Do you remember? Okay.
I'm old.
I forget. You're sneaky old.
Sneaky
It
old.
was right there by the freeway when you go off Sir Francis Drake Boulevard, which I don't even know if I can say the name of that street without being
You're allowed,
canceled.
you're allowed.
Yeah.
Right when you go on the ramp to go southbound on 101, there's that office building that used to be a bowling alley. Green
So-
Lanes.
So I'm gonna.
Little 10
Okay.
lane. Little,
So post bowling alley, I believe it's same. That was Zim's. Do you remember
look at
Zim's?
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zim's. And it was something else after Zim's because I think
Yeah.
we went there after my senior prom in '85, and
Marin
may
Catholics.
or may not have dined and dashed. Apologies to I think it might have been a Denny's.
Wow, really, Dibs?
I'm an open book.
Well, we talked about your CYO controversy last time, where you made the A team.
Oh yeah,
Through a backroom deal, and now you're saying that you stiffed Zim's, thus probably forcing them into bankruptcy, going out
probably.
of business.
Yeah, this is the way I make amends.
Okay, little trivia question for you. Molly Stones in Bon Air, what was the market before it was? Do you remember?
Petrini's.
Petrini's. Okay, good. Just
Come on.
making sure.
Don't try to quiz me.
I'm just
okay?
making sure. I'm
I've
just
been
making
around
sure.
for a minute. Bowling alleys and the
Yes.
country club one in Santa Fe, the fact that that closed and it still is an empty building.
Yeah.
It
Sad.
just, yeah.
Sad.
That was
Okay.
a COVID casualty, right? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I that was a cool spot, and they had the nice little sports bar.
great spot.
Yeah.
Great
They had
spot.
just put in like the outdoor, like the turf soccer fields.
Right.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
well. Like it seemed like they were growing it.
That's where our summer games event used to conclude. And I know Tom Poser's talking
Yeah.
about it, where Ned Freeman, we
Yes.
used to do
Yep, yep.
8 sports one day.
Right.
It would all end with bowling at Country Club Bowl. And Poser could barely make it through because apparently I fouled him a lot.
Yeah,
Which
no, Tom's really cool when people foul him. Okay, Dibs.
a little soft.
Rank Marin cities or towns.
Marin towns. Fairfax is number 1.
Okay, I knew that.
Just born and raised in 1968, Cascade Drive,
Okay,
and the Fultons across the creek. What more do you want?
right.
So Fairfax is 1. San Anselmo is 2. I had lived in San Anselmo on Roland Boulevard, which is behind Center Market.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
I lived on Fawn Drive for a time.
Okay.
I coached at Drake, Archie Williams, or maybe it's Archie
Other way
Williams,
around.
Knee Drake. Yeah, I
Other way
always
around.
get the knee wrong.
You're good.
I'd have to put Sanderfell 3rd.
Okay.
Lived there as well. Then it gets a little bit more touchy. Ross would be 4.
Wow, that's a really
Ross is
that's
4.
a
It's an
surprising.
upset.
That's an upset.
Todd and Ross for 5 years. You've got Phoenix Lake right there.
Okay.
Shady Lane,
Mhm.
which is one of the best little stretches of
It's beautiful.
road.
It's beautiful.
I'd go Ross 4. Then you start to get into the weeds a little bit. And I'm going to go off the board and say San Geronimo 5.
Okay.
I lived in San Geronimo, which is Woodacre's little brother.
Okay. Significant West Marin bias so far is what I'm noticing.
Born and raised.
It's okay.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Tell her.
If
Just
you're
tell her.
waiting for Novato, I don't know how long we have.
What I want to know, what our fans want to know,
Wait
the
for
tickets
Canfield.
were sold to see where Novato, Tiburon, and Mill Valley rank.
Tiburon is behind Belvedere. Belvedere greater than Tiburon.
Okay.
Mill Valley greater than Tiburon as well. And maybe this is my PTSD about St. Hilary's, because
Mhm.
when you referee at St. Hilary's and the Tiburonians come out, there's a certain air of expectation and disconcertion that as a traveling official, I don't necessarily appreciate.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Stinson would be up there soon. Love Woodacre, Lagunitas. Yeah, there's a West Marin bias.
Are we lumping Terra Linda into Santa Fe, or is Terra Linda its own thing?
Terra Linda's not its own thing.
Okay, Terra Linda is part of Santa Fe.
Correct.
Okay.
As is Marin Wood,
Sure.
which is, I mean, these are unincorporated sectors of Santa Fe.
Okay. Where would you put Kentfield and Greenbrae?
Interesting. Kentfield behind Ross and Greenbrae behind Kentfield. I went to Marin Catholic, so Kentfield a little bit of a soft
Mhm.
spot. And I love Basich Elementary
Mhm.
as well. But
That's where I reside. My
Yeah.
kids went there.
okay, good. Jean-Marc Schaefer,
Of course.
which is my
Phenomenal coach.
my dear friend who I taught with for many years. But
Wonderful Frenchman. Love
yes,
him. Okay.
What about the Conclave of St. Vincent's as its own entity?
That would be Marinwood, which I think is in St. Vincent's, if I'm not mistaken, might be part of unincorporated Marin County.
Mhm.
But as far as just pure locations, I love St. Vincent's. For me, it's the Pavilion in Fairfax and it's St. Vincent's in Marinwood. And I referee almost exclusively at St. Vincent's now.
Yeah.
And something about you get off the freeway, you do the 2 snake turns, and then you go through that gigantic, almost spooky grove of trees.
So
as you get to
You
the
feel like
iconic
you're
village.
leaving the universe.
So
Right.
here's
You feel like
Dibs.
you're in the movie The Shining.
Dibs,
kinda,
bear with
right?
me. It's like you're going down Magnolia Lane to the Masters, but it's a Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas
Yeah,
version of it.
it's an amalgamation of the two.
Yeah.
It's an
Okay.
amalgamation sensation is what that is.
All right. I knew there was going to be a West Marin bias. I didn't know it was going to be so extreme West Marin bias.
Well, I mean, that's born and raised in I lived in Fairfax, San Anselmo, San Geronimo, and San Rafael.
Greatest. All right. Now we're in crunch time. Greatest Marin movie theater in history.
It's the Fairfax Theater.
The one that Danellen fired you from.
Correct. It's because I wouldn't change the marquee from Gremlins to Muppets Take Manhattan in the rain.
Yeah.
And I told him no. And then I didn't think that I could be fired. And turns out I could be fired.
So wait a
which
minute.
is the second of 8 times I've been fired.
So that Fairfax Theater over the cinema, which today still sits defunct in Corte Madera, but that's where, all like the Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Right.
Top Gun, all those. So you would take Fairfax Theater over the cinema.
Right. I would go the TAM Theater number 2,
Oh.
which has been closed for,
Yeah.
30 or so years. And then I would go to the first theater I ever went to, which is the Northgate Theater, where I saw Bad News Bears as a 9-year-old. P.S. Don't show your kids who are 9 that movie.
Yeah.
A lot of elements that are maybe not 9-year-old.
Little League
friendly.
coach drunk on the bench.
They don't quite hold up.
Yeah.
No, and some other subtle epithets and some other subtle contexts that maybe aren't 9-year-old friendly.
By the way, just saw a few days ago, that's what spurred this question. Cinemark has ended their lease and the Northgate movie theater is closed.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think movie theaters are going to go the way of the bowling alley.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. It's a reality of life. Okay. Dibs. I have a story around this question. Best burrito in the Bay Area.
Well, it would have to be High Tech Burrito. And I'm only saying that because of
Chris Ballard?
because no, it was it Poser who mentioned it or
No, it was my brother.
No, it was Chris Ballard.
oh no, because you mentioned it
Yes.
from your brother.
Yes.
It's Taqueria San Jose, which is
Oh.
underneath the overpass.
Yeah.
on,
That's a good, yes.
and I-
4th and Heatherton?
was a
right.
fire.
Is
There
it
was a-
if 4th and Heatherton?
Yeah.
Good. There was a fire.
There was
right?
a fire there.
Yes. You get the whole beans, and the burrito is the size of Kenya, the
Yeah.
podcast dog. Give or take.
Give or
Yeah.
take whether she's had 2 dinners or 3.
Correct. And it's robust, it's authentica, it's delicious. The other one I do like is Picante in
Oh, great.
San Rafael
The canal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They
Behind-
have great food there.
Behind the old Circuit City.
Look, okay, now you're
There we
starting
go.
you're going to make me cry because already driving here to Sleepy Hollow, I was having all the feels
Yes.
about being back in the hood. Yeah.
Yes. Funny side note, Dibs, you will not remember this. I would say 20 years ago, I was living in the inner Sunset. I ran into my favorite burrito place, Gordo's,
Oh, yeah.
and I saw you. And I think you were in a hurry. You were probably like rushing to get to a show or something.
Yeah.
And I said, Dibs. You were like, oh, shit, hi. And then you ran out. But I saw you at Gordo's. Like 20 years
Incredible.
ago.
Gordo's on like
9th and Irving.
9th and Irving. And there's the other one I'm trying to remember.
There's one in Berkeley,
in
too.
the
Gordo's.
Richmond, yeah.
Gordo's is a phenomenal
It's
burrito
good.
place.
Ubiquitous. We used to go to that one in high school on the way to Giants games at Candlestick. We
Yes.
would stop at Gordo's and get a burrito and then bring it into the
That's
stick.
probably where you were running to.
On behalf of my brother, if he were to now rank burritos in the Bay Area, he would put Gordo's first. I'm sure he goes there all the time.
Well, I believe he said in his book that High Tech Burrito was the best burrito in the country.
Right. Yeah. So if he was ranking, well, yeah, I don't know where he'd go with the country. I bet he would not probably go quite that big.
Probably not.
I'll say this in defense of your brother, who I don't think I've ever met. At the time of the writing of the book, High Tech Burrito was cutting edge. We
It was.
didn't really have like the mega burrito
Right.
like we do now.
Yeah.
And efficiency, take your choice, little diversity.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was great. Cool. We love you, High Tech Burrito.
Yeah.
All right, Dibs, you're coaching a game. coaching a basketball game. There's 10 seconds left. It's a tie game. Which Marin legend are you drawing up a play for? You need a bucket. Who are you giving it to?
Man, that's tough. I would probably go to Steve Kenilvort.
Again, you're very consistent.
Well, and honestly, I'm just remembering the state championship game, 1982 against Banning.
Yeah.
Drake 87, Banning 85, no threes. No threes. And they won 87-85. Steve had 37 points in that game. He can score from all three levels. He is indefatigable when it comes to getting to the basket. So if it's a tie game and I need a bucket and I'm going to clear out a side, I'm going to give it to Steve on the wing, and he's either going to, jab step and shoot a 16-footer, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go 2 hard dribbles to the right and get to the cup, which I love. Or he'll go left and spin back right and score with a scoop. I can't imagine. I probably should have said my brother Doug, but I didn't. Sorry, Doug.
Doug, what's your answer to that question?
I was going to ask whether Steve is hunting in this situation. Is he hunting a foul call to go to the line, or is he just trying to score outright?
He's trying to score knowing that he doesn't need to hunt a foul call. And speaking of Hunt, Dan Hunt's not a bad answer either.
Yeah.
At 6'8" on the block. And my answers are always going to be colored by my youth. And as an 8th grader in 1982, that team, that season was my world. And I love basketball as much as I do in large part because of that year. My brother and the Fultons, Chris and, Mike the year before, and of course Dan and Steve. And I could take you through the entire 15-man roster.
Yeah.
That for me is, we talk about core memories. I had a core memory driving out today because during those games that season, after a home game, Gigi Joffrion, who was a senior on the girls team,
great player,
State, they would have house parties. Her parents would open up the house and all the kids would come there and they'd have house parties, and I'd sit in their guest room and play Atari as an 8th grader with the red button and the joystick while all of them would be listening to Michael Jackson records and, dancing and having fun. So being here at Sleepy Hollow today, I was having that memory of the Joffrion house, which I think was on Butterfield. I'm not sure where, but somewhere in this neighborhood. So
we get this question a lot about why there's so much interest in Marin high school basketball and nostalgia. And I think it's because there was this perfect storm of, you had this amazing program in Drake, and it was at a time where community was a big deal. We weren't on phones, we weren't on screens, not to get on a soapbox, but it was a time where people would hang out and they coalesced around this amazing team. And you have this really close-knit community here in West Marin of San Anselmo, Fairfax. So that's why there's just this passion for this that's really, I think, unique. Yeah.
I want to answer your question.
Yeah, please.
You did ask me. So I'm going to stick with Drake guys. So I got Mike Mahoney, a weak side. I got him in the corner, shooter. I got Dave Granucci and Tom Poser out there. I got Pribble with the ball, and I got Mike Delosio, who I've never seen play in person, but I've seen some highlights. But I want the play running through him. So he's going to do a lot of action. He's coming off an elevator screen at the top of the key. If that's not there, I got Granucci slipping to the hoop, and I got Pribble making a decision. We're going to score for sure.
I got, you know what? I'm going to throw a Branson guy at you. I got Chris Green coming off a pin down with a catch and shoot 3, and I'm going to win.
I'd be okay if he went to Drake. That'd be fine. Yeah. Or Marin Academy would be okay as well.
There are so many that
Division 3 All-American.
You could answer.
Mike Turner.
Yeah.
Michael Turner.
Well, I'm thinking about Will Venable.
And,
watching him at Santa Fe, and we should probably give a nod to Brooke Smith as well, where she's going to get to the foul line if you can try to guard her as good as she is and as good as she was.
Unstoppable. Well, her jump hook, unstoppable.
Yeah.
Which she worked on countless hours with Mike Fulton in the College of Marin gym. Yeah. Dibs, we might need to do round 3.
This can't be over. This is the fire's going. Coffee was delicious, by the way, Duff.
Duff's got to go. Duff's got to go.
I do hot. I do iced. I do like in between temperature
Versatile.
as well.
Yeah, we went hot coffee today. Duff's got to go play some pickup basketball. I got to go do some more.
But you guys are welcome to hang out and keep going and turn it into a marathon if you like.
Oh goodness!
Just when you get to the Y, just call foul right when you walk in.
Well, I tell you, so I've been playing at the Y long enough to play through a phase where it was just kind of young guys coming in, jacking up whatever shot they first saw. I had my tooth knocked out in one of those games by a guy on my own team who kind of came flying for it to a layup and just out of nowhere just hit me with his elbow. My tooth goes flying out. And then I was been there long enough to see the 4x4 versus 4 short court, which was a very civilized game, but there were people that were bosses in that game. So it was a little controlling. And then it morphed over time to the full court 5v5, really good competitive games, some arguing, but not a lot of bullshit. These were really good games. And then COVID, unfortunately, kind of shut those games down. So now it's pretty piecemeal. You'll have this guy, Roy, who's probably in his mid-70s. He'll be out there and he'll be telling you sort of how good of a shooter he still is. And then you got some guys that play against us in the adult league, like Trey, who coaches, I don't know Trey's last name, but he coaches at Branson.
Mitchell.
Yeah, really good player.
Yeah.
And this guy, Vinny, 6'6", really long, young. Anyway, it's a mixed group right now. So
Nice.
But mellow, very mellow, not a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, I loved your episode on pickup basketball, and it made me pining for the days when I actually got out there. And the tournament that you guys had a great recap of out here in Sleepy Hollow.
Absolutely.
You guys are doing great.
The shoot tournament.
The shoot tournament.
Now, that's a big weekend for you, but if, we might have to have you out like in advance of the shoot tournament, like at some, event prior.
Oh, yeah.
If we
Just give me a microphone and a speaker and we'll turn that thing into a roast in no time.
Well,
everyone.
between Bucky singing the national anthem and Dibbs as MC, that would be kind of an amazing.
That would be amazing.
And his anthem was spot on, as always.
He's got a beautiful voice. So I was at Mike Fulton's wedding, and Buck and his son Skylar sang at the wedding, and it was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Dibbs, love you, man. So good to see you. So fun. Everybody listen to our friend Dibbs. 2 to 6, Monday through Friday, 95.7 The Game.
Yep.
He's the best in the business. And thank you for being a supporter of the pod.
Guys, thank you. Keep it up. I'm a huge fan.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says,
Hey, dude, you too must be from Marin.
Marin County's A-OK, from Tampa, Stinson, all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. Lieutenant Dylan and NWA.
Welcome to